learners, I welcome you to this session. Here, this session is about economic impacts of tourism. So, as the saying goes, to every action there is equal and opposite reaction. So, when we talk about tourism phenomena and people are traveling across the world, so every destination wherever they are visiting, it has impacts of tourism on it. It may be positive, it may be negative. So there are positive impacts of tourism, the pros of tourism, and there are negatives of tourism, the cons of tourism. So we are going to dedicate this session to the various economic impacts of tourism. We have to understand that economy is the backbone of any country of the world. And tourism as an industry is seen as a very serious fun business. It's not only fun anymore, it has become a very serious business now. So it has, why? Because it has economic impacts on the society, on a country where the tourists visit. So let us understand what economic impact analysis is. An economic impact analysis traces the flows of spending associated with tourism activity in the region to identify changes in sales, tax revenues, income, and jobs due to tourism activity. I go back to that same slide which says that what is an economic impact analysis. So here we are making an attempt to understand that when the tourist visit a destination, what impact he has on the jobs of that place, on the revenues of that destination, on the revenues, on the income, on the sales of that place. Through this economic impact analysis, we try to identify. So economic impacts are very, very important. As we say that every 10th person in the world is a tourist. Every person is traveling. There is a rage of travel which has emerged now. With people traveling across the world, they are also making a lot of economic impact while visiting a destination. So, what is the various method for identifying the economic impact analysis? Number one, it is the visitor spending surveys. We have to understand the pattern, the way in which visitors spend the money. We must see there are different approaches to increasing tourism in a destination. Like we say, in France, there are maximum visitors visiting across the country, across the world. France is number one in terms of tourist arrival. In India, we talk about increasing the numbers. But instead of increasing the numbers, there is another approach also. We say that it should be focused on increasing the number of days when the tourist visits a destination. When he increases his length of stay, we call it length of stay. So when he visits the country, when he visits India, and when he increases his length of stay by offering him various tourism products in different destinations and not confining the tourism phenomenon to only Golden Triangle, to only few destinations, but making it across the various parts of the country, offering different kinds of experiences and immersing him in different world altogether. So here, when the tourist is visiting here, the more the number of days he stays in the country, the more he spends money. So when he will spend the money, then we will get the money, and that will be good exchange, foreign exchange earned through him. So that will be an economic impact on the economy. So that will increase the strata of the people living in the society. The host community will benefit from it. So visitor spending surveys, they analyze how much a tourist typically spends when he visits the country on a holiday. So the idea is that the number of days he spends here in the country, so the more money the country can make. That's why we say that tourism is a golden goose which gives money to us without spending any money on them. So it is We are earning for an extent. We are not sending anything out of the country. I'll come back to that point again. But here I'm talking about the visitor spending surveys, where we are trying to monitor that how we can monitor the economic impacts by going through the spending pattern of the visitor. Next is analysis of secondary data from government economic statistics. So there are various government agencies which are engaged in finding out in collecting data about how the tourists come, what are their profiles, about their patterns, and there are various publications in this regard. There's a lot of information which is available with the government. So this also helps to make sense and to in gauging new tourism policies. We can go through these secondary data and we can gather a lot of information about the style of how the tourist spends his money, for how many does he stays, what is his impact on the economy when he visits a destination, when he visits a country. Then the third aspect is various economic based models, like input output models are there, multipliers are there, which help us to analyze the various economic impacts. So what we are trying to understand here is that the economic impact is very this is the most important impact when the tourist visits a destination. This is why, because all countries across the world are operating on many countries of the world are opting for tourism as an industry, and their economy is thriving on, many of their economies are thriving on tourism. So we need to understand, when the tourist visit my destination, my country, how much money he brings in. Am I making money out of him or not? Obviously, it has to be within the reasonable ambit. It should not go unreasonable, and we should not succumb to undue kind of things like cheating him in different ways, because that can always backfire and we will not be able to increase the visitation of tourists. The idea of tourism is all about that the tourist goes happy, so that he wants to come back to the destination again and again, and he also spreads a positive word of mouth to other people who are thinking of visiting a destination. So if I am happy, I like visiting that destination, the people were good to me, I had a good experience coming to India, I'll go and tell other 10 people to visit the same country, or in fact I will come back again to this country. But if my experience is not very positive, I might not like to come back again. So the whole idea of tourism should be to increase the length of stay, to give positive experiences to the tourist, given the fact that tourism has tourism has this potential, it has a strong potential to bring economic benefits to a country. So till now we have discussed what is an economic impact of tourism and how it is assessed through various methods. Now we will discuss on the various economic effects which might happen when the tourist visit a destination. So now let us have the first discussion on the multiplier effect. What is multiplier effect? You have to understand before I start that multiplier effect is not only related to the tourism industry, it is across all the various industries. It happens in different ways. But here we are going to discuss in the context of tourism sector. So what is multiplier effect? Multiplier effect encompasses the direct and secondary effects of tourist expenditures on the economy and shows the wide range of sectors in a community that may. Before this I go on, I want to tell you that look at this, what I told you, that it encompasses the direct and secondary effects of tourist expenditures. Means we are trying to focus on the expenditures, that what is spending in a country, what is its impact. it could be the direct effect, it could be secondary effect. So now I go on again, so that it may benefit from tourism. It refers to the number of rounds of spendings with regards to initial expenditures within the local economy, or the ways in which tourist spending filters through the economy, thus indicating the extent of impact on local income, employment and other economic sectors. So let me again explain you this. What does it mean? That economic, this multiplier effect, when the tourist visits a destination, he is spending money. So his spending, it will go through a number of rounds. The initial expenditure which he has made of as many rupees or dollars or pounds, whatever money he has spent in any currency of the world, it will go through a number of round of spendings. So, and it will filter through the economy of that country, and it will impact the income of that country, the employment of that country and the various other economic sectors of that country. What I am trying to say is that it will capture the size of secondary effects of tourist spending in a given region relative to direct change. Means we are trying to capture, we are trying to understand the secondary effects of tourist spending. We are not only taking here the direct effects or we are taking the indirect effects, we are taking both the effects, direct as well as indirect effects. So multiplier effect expresses the degree of interdependence between sectors in a region's economy and hence varies considerably across regions and sectors. So for different sectors, the multiplier effect will be different. The degree of interdependence between sectors would also be different, and hence it will also vary across different sectors and different regions. It shows a wide range of sectors in an economy that may benefit from tourism. So multiplier effect tells us that what are the other sectors of the economy which will also benefit from this tourism sector. We have to understand that multiplier effect does not only gauge the benefits accruing to the tourism industry, but because of the tourism phenomena happening to the tourism industry, multiplier effect will also tell us the effects to the other industries also which are affected by tourism industry directly or indirectly. I would like to extend this argument to saying that for every $100, suppose if we are talking in terms of dollars, when a foreign tourist visits a country, for every $100 spent by a tourist adds approximately how much? $320 to the economy. Money coming from the tourist pocket means it percolates throughout the economy. It changes hands. So in tourism economy, we say the value of multiplier is between 3.2 to 3.6. Now let me again explain this point, that for every $100 spent by the tourist means that the money will not stay at one place. The expenditure which he has incurred in tourism when he visits a destination, when the whole arrangements, making travel arrangements, to staying in a hotel, to the traveling by transportation system, to giving it to the tour leaders, tour guides, to the cab driver. So he is spending money in different capacities in different to different people who are providing services of tourism to him. He's giving it to different tourist service people who are engaged in offering tourism service. So here the money will not stay at one place. In fact, this money will keep flowing throughout the economy. It will keep percolating throughout the economy. The money will not stay, and for every $100 which he spends, the money will it will keep multiplying, and it will be approximately $320 to the economy. So it will keep changing hands from one person to person. The money will keep flowing within the economy, and the value of multiplier in tourism is very high. It is between 3.2 to 3.6, which is decently high value. So that money will not stay at one place, the money will keep multiplying. Every $100 it is $320. So now we have to understand what are the direct effects, what are the indirect effects, and what are the induced effects. So these are three kinds of effect which have to be studied to understand the concept of multiplier effect. So what are direct effects? Direct effects are production changes associated with the immediate effects of changes in tourism expenditure. For example, an increase in the number of tourists staying overnight in hotels would directly yield increased sales in the hotel sector. The additional hotel sales, before this let me explain you again that the direct effect is what? Example, here I have taken example of hotel, that when a visitor, obviously when we say tourism is more than 24 hours, it also involves element of stay, right? So when he is visiting a destination, he is also going to stay in that destination, and he will take a hotel or any other kind of supplementary accommodation which is going to take. So when he visits there, so he will pay to the hotel. He is not going to be staying free of cost. He is going to pay to the hotel. So when he pays to the hotel, the money goes directly in the account of the hotel. It increases the revenue of the hotel. It increases the sales of the hotel. So that is immediately the direct effect which is felt by that hotel. Likewise, it's not only hotel. It can be, I am availing the services of a tour guide to see maybe let's say Humayun's tomb, Qutub Minar. I have taken a city tour of Delhi today, and I'm visiting all these monuments, Jama Masjid, and I'm visiting Delhi Heart. I've taken the service of a tour guide, and he's taking me to all these places. So the moment I avail his services, I'm giving him the money. So it will increase his sales, it will increase his revenue. So coming back to my example of the hotel, the additional hotel sales and associated changes in hotel payments for wages and salaries, taxes and supplies and services are direct effect of the tourist spending. Again coming back to this means when the tourist paid me, now this I'm a hotelier, he's coming and staying for example in my hotel, he gives me the money and for his stay of one night or 2 nights, and I get the money. So now I'm going to give this pass on, this money will not stay on with me, right? Portion of it will stay, portion of it will go to the staff for wages and salaries, right, who are working for my hotel, who are working for me. Portion of it will go for the taxes to the government. Obviously I have to pay taxes because I'm running my own hotel. Portion of it will go to the supplies and services. Any business will not operate in vacuum, we have to understand. The business needs the assistance, and it is dependent and interdependent on various other businesses. So to run my hotel, I am also buying food and beverage from the market. I am also buying linen from the market. So everywhere I am getting my supplies for my hotel from other people. I am dependent upon them. So the supplies and services or the payments for wages and the salaries which I am giving to, or be it the taxes which I am paying to the government, they are all what? The direct effects of the tourist spending. Now let's come to indirect effects. Till now we have understood what are direct effects, and we have taken an example of tourist who is visiting a place and he is staying in a hotel, and when he spends money, if he takes out the money from his pocket, the money is the currency, whatever it may be in, it is passed on to the other to the service provider. It could be a hotel, it could be an airline, it could be a travel agent, it could be a tour guide, it could be anybody. So it is going to them, and the money does not stay with them, it is going to the various supplies and all. So indirect effects are the production changes resulting from various rounds of re-spending of the hotel's industry receipts in other backward linked industries. Now let me tell you this, we have to understand this concept of backward linked industries. Means the supplies and services, the ones who are providing services to the hotel. As I said, the business is not operating in vacuum. The hotel is not keeping the money with the hotelier is not keeping the whole money with him. He is giving that money back to the people who are working for him, maybe the housekeeping staff, the food and beverage staff, the front line staff, front people are working in the front office, the maintenance people, the security people. So the various departments who are working in sync with to run this hotel, so they have to be paid. Nobody will work free for you, right? So you are paying to them. So you are also paying to the various suppliers who are supplying you with the material for running the hotel. It could, as said, you need the linen for the beds, for the like the curtains. You need the towels. You need the napkins in the restaurant. Everything you need. So you are buying it from the suppliers. You are buying the food and beverages when you're running the restaurants. You're running the kitchen full-fledgedly. You want the vegetables, you want the fruits, you want all the bakery items. So everything you are buying from the market, you are buying from the suppliers, you are buying from the farmers, you are buying from the local markets. So the money goes to them. So these are the indirect effects, which are the changes resulting from rounds of re-spending of the hotel industry receipts, right? So that's the indirect effects. So changes in sales, jobs and income in the linen supply industry, for example, represent indirect effects of changes in hotel sales. Businesses supplying products and services to the linen supply industry represent another round of indirect effects, eventually linking hotels to varying degree to many other economic sectors in the region. What we are trying to say is that there are businesses who are supplying to the linen also. That is another round of circulation of the money. So you have to understand it is going backward. So that is an indirect effect. The other aspect of effects is induced effects. So what are induced effects? Induced effects are the changes in economic activity resulting from household spending of income earned directly or indirectly as a result of tourist spending. So these are the changes, right? When we are spending, so that these are the changes, either directly or indirectly. So let me put it as an example, you will be able to understand it in a much better way. The hotel and linen supply employees, supported directly or indirectly by tourism, spend their income in the local region for housing, fooding, transportation and the usual array of household product and service needs. Means that the money which the tourist gave to the hotelier gave to his employees as the wages and salaries, that money is not remaining with the employees. Again, because they also need money to sustain, they will be spending money on their transportation, on their accommodation, and on their fooding. So that money is passing on to the other people also. So there is as a result, there is a chain. The sales, income, and jobs that result from household spending of added wage, salary, or proprietor's income are induced effects, because they got the money, the employees, now they are able to spend. So there's a change in their income because of the sales which happened. There's a change in the jobs and all. So the spending of added wage, salary or proprietor's income, these are called as the induced effects. By means of indirect and induced effects, changes in tourist spending can impact virtually every sector of economy in one way or the other. The magnitude of secondary effects depends on the propensity of businesses and households in the region to purchase goods and services from local suppliers. So we see the magnitude of secondary effects is changing, and it depends on the various businesses, how they are able to basically they are changing hands, the money is changing hands from various businesses. So the kind of effects, indirect and induced effects, they are sometimes collectively called as secondary effects. And the total economic impact of tourism is the sum of direct, indirect and induced effects within a region. Any of these impacts may be measured as gross output or sales, income, employment or value added. Again, so what is multiplier effect? Multiplier effect, we say the total economic impacts. When we are studying the total impacts, economic impacts, so we have to take into account the direct effect, the indirect effect, the induced effect of that particular destination, of that particular region, of that particular country, to understand the actual economic benefit impacts of tourism on that place, right? So the multiplier effect, the effects we have discussed: direct effect, indirect effect, induced effects, and total effects are direct, indirect, induced. Here I would also like to mention you about the concept of leakages. So in tourism, leakages can happen. Leakages, that the money which does not stay, so the money which is not being circulated in the economy. So it could be in the form of savings which you are not spending. It could be in the form of imports, when we import oil from other countries, we import various commodities, various food items from other countries which we are short of. So that is a leakage. Or exports, we are sending something, exports leakage is also there. Let me put it like in tourism and in hospitality, like lot of beverages, lot of drinks, basically mocktails, they come cocktails, they come from foreign countries. Your whiskeys and all, they come from foreign countries. We import them and we give a heavy duty for that. So when we are, so that money is not within our earned money is going there. So we are leaking that money to the other country. The other countries will be becoming richer. They are getting money from us, and the money is leaking from our economy. So the leakages happen in the multiplier effect. So they also have to be taken into account, which includes your savings, imports, export leakage. So just now we have discussed the multiplier effect impact. That was the first impact of tourism on tourism industry, that is the multiplier effect. Now there are some other economic impacts also of tourism. The other one is increase in income. Definitely, when the domestic tourists visit the country, they are traveling. When they are traveling, they are spending money on accommodation, on transportation, on entertainment activities, on fooding, visiting restaurants, visiting cafes, and that they are also visiting, going for sightseeing. So they are increasing the income of the country. So that is happening because of the domestic tourist phenomena happening in the country. The other one is increase in foreign exchange earnings. So we have to understand that tourism, we say it is an invisible export. It is only invisible export, means that we are not exporting anything and yet we are getting foreign exchange. Means when the foreign tourists are coming in our country, so what are they? They are spending, they are bringing their own currency in the country. So they bring foreign exchange in the country, be it the dollars, be it the pounds, be it the euros. So yes, they are bringing foreign exchange in our country. So when they bring this foreign exchange, the country becomes richer. So the country's economy becomes stronger. So this is increase in foreign exchange earning happens because of the tourist phenomena. Then we have is the tax revenue generation. The tax is also earned, the revenue also comes through taxes. Like the government levies taxes on like visiting the various the national parks, wildlife sanctuaries or the attractions. So that is also an earning for the government on the entry fee which it asks the tourist to pay for. And so the tax also, the revenue which it earns, like you are setting up a hotel, you also have to pay tax to the government. So that's a source of income for the government. Obviously, tourism is a big time employment opportunity. It creates millions and millions of jobs across the world because of tourism. I take an example of a tourist who visits Shirdi. So you must have seen the whole economy is running on tourism of that Shirdi pilgrimage point. If you go there, you will see all the fool walas who are selling fool, the prasad walas, all the dhaba walas, restaurants, the hotels where the tourists are visiting, the trains which are going there, the recent flight which has started, the airport which has started there. So the whole economy is dependent upon tourism. So so many people are earning employment. It is their bread and butter. So tourism is bread and butter for many. Many people are engaged in the business of selling souvenirs. So they are also earning their bread and butter. The artisans, the craftsmen, they are earning through tourism. So tourism is a big time employment generator. It gives employment to many and many people. Maybe directly people are working for airlines, people are working for hotels, people are working for travel agencies, people are working in the government sector, people are working in the publications. So people are working in the facilitation businesses of tourism. So everybody is engaged and earning income through tourism. So it gives a lot of employment to a lot of people. Tourism gives employment. However, we have just discussed the positive aspect. There are negative aspects also of tourism. Number one is the overreliance of economy on tourism. When too much of tourism dependent you become. Like there are many countries in the world, it may be small countries, like we talk about Seychelles, we talk about Mauritius, Thailand, all these countries, they are very small countries, Fiji Islands, but Barbados. So all these countries are very small places, Caribbean islands, but their economy is thriving. Florida is thriving on tourism. But if anything happens, if there's a tsunami which is there, or there's a earthquake, any natural calamity or any civil unrest, so the complete tourism is shut down. The economy is collapsed. So that is a negative impact when we are putting all our eggs in one basket. So that should be avoided. There has to be a balanced approach towards tourism. The next one is price hikes. This is there that when the tourists visit a destination, the kind of when they visit, the demand increases of the accommodation of all the items of that destination, and the prices increase for the people who are staying in that place, the residents. So they suffer because of the tourists who are coming there. This has been example of Airbnb, where the prices have hiked of the accommodation properties because everybody is giving their houses or flats on Airbnb to the tourists because they want to earn more and more money. And any localite who wants to hire an apartment, he has to pay high, because and even the people are not ready to give the apartment on rent to them. In fact, they would prefer giving it to the tourists who can give them more money. So price hike is one of the negatives. And obviously the seasonal character of this job, because this is not for many countries, especially when I talk in terms of India. In India, it's a 6 months business. For I'm talking about inbound tourists. Definitely for domestic tourists, it's also during the summers, especially when we have the summer, the hill station when it is happening, but the seasonal characteristic of this job is also negative economic impact. So by now we have discussed what is an economic impact, what is the analysis, what are the methods to identify it, what are the various impacts of tourism. We discussed the first, the multiplier effect, then we discussed the direct, indirect, induced effects. Then we discussed the effect of this employment opportunity it gives, the revenue generation which happens, and then at last we discussed the various negative impacts of tourism. Thank you.